Majora's Mask, Chapter 44, Zora Hall. As the sky's blue grew richer, the sea's color sickened into an algae green. The tide's cascade filled the shore with a calming sea breeze as its steady crash upon the shore mimicked the first day's radiance. Link failed to reconcile Great Bay's beauty with his growing dread. He had towels pulled around his shoulders while he dried and held the Zora mask in his hands. The hero stared into the face that had been Mikao's. It all just keeps going, Link thought. The ocean, the seagulls, the sun. None of it cares that Mikao just died. Only two strangers were left to contemplate his death. He hated the second thought this conjured, because it was selfish. Is this what it'll be like when I die? Will the world just keep going? It made the beautiful waves send a shiver through his spine, as if they were a premonition for his death, too. Two memories competed for his attention. Anju, dying on the South Clocktown Plaza, and himself, sprinting along the beach to save Tattle. Those memories treated the ocean paradise like a powerless, fragile illusion. I should be thinking about Mikao, Link thought, angry at himself. Someone has to mourn him. He and Anju's mother had been there for the innkeeper's death, two people who loved and cared for her. Did that make a difference? Maybe dying was simply dying. The dead certainly could not protest leaving the world alone. Mikao's wooden face stared up at him, indifferent to everything.
Sorry for being a pessimist,
Tattle said, speaking over the ocean's gentle roar.
Earlier, I made fun of you for trying to enjoy the weather. I feel like I brought this on us.
Link shook his head. No, this isn't your fault. Tattle looked back out at the ocean before she thought of something else to say.
Do you know how long I sat in that trench just waiting? Watching the imp stare at me? All I could do was watch as the sky got brighter. I hoped you would come to save me, even though that seemed so impossible.
She smiled, turning to face him.
But you did it anyways.
Yeah, Link said. There's a first time for everything. I haven't saved anyone else. He motioned down to the Zora mask.
That's not true,
Tattle said.
You were the hero of time in Hyrule, weren't you?
Were, he noted. If he wasn't the hero of time now, then who was he? Yes, Link said. But ever since Termina, I guess ever since the masked salesman, I've lost everyone. One by one, and the only people I do save just end up dying when the moon falls anyway, except for...
Me and Epona?
Yeah, except for you and Epona. Link heard a distant buzz come from his horse. He turned to see her standing in the fisherman's yard. Her watcher was filling bowls of water and food for her. I know he's not our first choice for a horse sitter, but we don't have another option. We can at least trust him enough to watch her.
Yeah,
Tattle agreed softly, much to Link's surprise.
I let my emotions get the better of me earlier. Even if he is deplorable, something tells me bringing Epona isn't an option.
She paused, glancing at the mask.
Speaking of what happens next, do you think that mask...
Link nodded. It'll probably do the same thing, just like with Darmanian, the butler's son. But it feels wrong. I killed him, didn't I? And now I'm going to use his body like a puppet.
You're not the reason he's dead,
Tattle said. I know, but...
And you're not using his body like a puppet. You'll be using it to save Termina. If we stick to this plan and use that mask to find the next temple, we're one step closer to saving everyone for real.
Link smiled. So, you've accepted that we'll have to enter another temple.
Listen, you're hoping for less hiking, and I'm hoping for a temple-free giant-saving vacation. We we both have our delusions and we'll both be proven wrong.
Link laughed as he stood, brushing the sand from the lower half of his tunic. He returned the towels to the fisherman and put back on his boots. Though the hero was finally dry enough, his hair was still thick with salt water, which probably wouldn't change anytime soon. Link said, pulling free the Zora mask again. I probably shouldn't turn into a Zora right in front of him, huh?
No.
Tattle said.
As much as I'd like to see him scream in terror, he'd probably try to kill us.
Fair, Link said, pushing away that dark possibility. Which way should we go then? There was the way he'd gone to save Tattle, which he knew ended at the damned waterfall. To the right was a mystery, and then there was the bunker-like building straight ahead on the pier.
I'm feeling the creepy house in the middle of the water,
Tattle said.
Whoever lives there probably has a few interesting things to say.
Right. Well, let's walk around the bend and we can hide this transformation. He passed through the short circular cave to their left until the fisherman's hut was out of sight. Link removed his shield, bag, and scabbard, taking a deep breath and placing the mask over his face. As expected, he came alive. Mikau's face was a parasite, digging into his cheeks and forehead. Tattle watched as Link tried to withhold a scream of pain, but he was unsuccessful. The hero fell to his knees and clawed at his face, trying to remove the mask. His shriek echoed far and wide. Link's skeleton grew, and his skin lightened. His skull stretched outward into the shape of a Zora's head. He kicked and wriggled in the sand as his skin became clammy like a fish's. Eventually, the pain stopped. Link lay there for a moment, out of breath. His taller, skinnier chest took in air, but it chilled his body more than before. The hero sat up carefully, looking at his arms and legs. Tattle's widened eyes took in the Zora who had just died, returned to life. Link was Mikau's exact clone. His blue-green skin darkened at the ends of his limbs, and his long, pointed head no longer needed a hat. His eyes were coal black, and he had razor-sharp fins sticking into his forearms and ankles. The lower half of Link's tunic had remained long enough to now become shorts, as Mikau had been wearing before he died. But the upper half was now pulled taut against his chest, which had grown much longer. Link continued examining his new body, rubbing his fingers together to feel the rubbery texture. Blue spots dotted his oddly hued skin. The air not only felt colder, but drier too. He looked at the distant bay with a strange yearning. The open air felt uncomfortable in comparison. Link knew that Zora spent their childhood mostly underwater, and that walking on land became much more bearable by the time they were adults. However, as a newly born Zora himself, the water's temptation was too much to ignore. Tattle must have noticed Link's longing glance at the bay.
Deku Head? You okay?
Yeah, Link said distantly. His voice was also identical to the deceased Mikau's. It was more high-pitched and echoey than his human voice. He knew it would be much clearer underwater. I have to do something first. He tried to pull the tiny tunic off, but it didn't come free until he ripped the top half off. He decided to keep the lower portion as his shorts. His original tunic would still be intact in his human form. Then, Link sprinted at the shoreline and dove into the bay. Immediately, the strange urge was satisfied. He'd never felt more at peace in water. He shot through it like a bullet. His fins guided him through the ocean like a bird cut through air. He wriggled like a worm, pushing himself forward far faster than even Epona could on land. When he breathed in water, it was far more refreshing than air. It rushed through his nose and mouth, fulfilling an almost insatiable thirst. Link zoomed beneath the pier, ecstatic and elated. The ocean water was so warm and welcoming. He felt like laughing and almost restrained himself. But it's okay to laugh underwater, Link thought. I'm Zora. When he did, the echo in his voice vanished. His laugh traveled cleanly through the bay like it was meant to be there. Link kept swimming blissfully, rising to break the surface and fly briefly. The sun glistened on his fish-like body, warming his refreshed skin. Then he fell, diving back into the water and never losing his form. He rose up time and time again, bulleting through the water and spinning in a graceful dance. Tattle watched from the shoreline, smiling.
What a show-off!
Several minutes later, Link walked up the shore dripping wet, panting and smiling.
Took you long enough,
Tattle said.
How was it?
Amazing. The aquatic echo in his voice caught him off guard again, now that he was out of water. It was like being in a Deku flower when I'm a Deku scrub, or being rolled into a ball when I'm a Goron.
It looked fun,
Tattle said.
I wonder what the human and fairy equivalent to those things are. You're probably one of the only people who's ever been more than one kind of creature.
I know, Link said. Wow, that felt so amazing, Tattle. The fairy rolled her eyes.
All right, I get it. Don't get too excited, Fishhead. Your scream caught the fisherman's attention, and we don't want to waste too much more time.
Oh. Link looked to the hut, but the fisherman didn't appear outside anymore. You diverted him? Tattle bowed from the air.
As is my expertise. Now let's go get your stuff.
They returned to his possessions, which still lay in the sand. He brought up his hands to remove the mask, and instantaneously he transformed back into a human. His tunic's upper half reappeared, and he threw his bag over his shoulders and reapplied his weapons. When he became Mikau again, his bag, shirt, shield, belt, and shirt vanished before his Zora form, and the transformation was instant on his second attempt, rather than being painful or destructive. His Zora torso was once again bare to the world. To the hull? Link said.
To the hull!
They crossed the pier, climbed the ladder, and stood together before the door.
Should you greet whoever is inside as a Zora, or as yourself?
Tattle asked. Oh, I didn't even think about that, the boy said. It should probably be me, in case this person is anything like the fisherman. Tattle nodded as Link removed the mask and knocked on the metal door with his dry human knuckles. An elderly man answered. His back was hunched, and his teeth were crooked and scarce. Only long tufts of white hair remained, though he wore a blue cap to cover his scalp and a long blue coat to match it. The old man's crazed eyes widened. And who are you? I'm Link, and this is Tattle. What brings you to the Marine Research Lab, boy? Did you also come to watch the Zora eggs hatch? His voice matched his appearance. Eccentric, rude, and wise. Link hesitated. Mikau had mentioned that Lulu laid eggs. He said they'd been stolen by pirates, the hero remembered. Actually, yes, Link said, as the old man stepped aside and allowed them to enter. The building had one blue room. A massive fish tank took up the entire back wall, though it contained only water. A smaller fish tank stood closer to the door with a red snapper, and it sat across from an assortment of lab equipment. However, the large, empty fish tank dominated the space. Link approached its vast casing carefully and in awe as the old man went to his cluttered table. I'm excited about it too, the professor said. But those eggs haven't arrived yet, and there are only 1 to 3 days left until they hatch, and if that happens when they aren't in this aquarium, they may die. Why? Link said, turning to face his host. The abnormal weather has caused the ocean to get hotter, the professor said. Zora eggs are very sensitive to changes in the temperature. The only way the eggs can hatch is if they're placed in this aquarium water, which I set aside for them long ago. The Zoras are well aware of this, but they're still late. I wonder if something has happened at Zora Hall. Zora Hall? Link asked. Where's that? What do you mean, where's that? It's a little bit into the ocean, south down the beach line. How'd you know about the eggs hatching if you've never been to the hole? The fisherman told me. The professor shook his head. That pig. I'm surprised he knows about it at all. He doesn't understand that Zoras are just as human as me and you. We should be equals. The old man returned to his table, furiously finishing a scribble as if he didn't have company. Why do you want to know where the hole is anyways? You can't get there without a boat. To free a cursed giant and stop the moon from falling? Link thought, but he couldn't say that. He opened his mouth to lie, but words failed him. Tattle jumped in to save the day.
This boy over here is an incredible swimmer. He won't need a boat.
The researcher balked.
Ha! Can he hold his breath for hours at a time?
No, but he's won many awards. Swimming awards.
Granted by what authority?
Slarp's Seashell Swimming School. Yeah.
Tattle said. Link turned to Tattle in annoyance.
Pah! Never heard of it,
the professor said.
That's because it's only for the best.
Tattle continued.
It's insane how good Link is at swimming. You wouldn't believe it if you saw it. That boy will be boatless for life.
You are a silly one, aren't you?
The professor said, returning to his scribbles.
You are a strange pair, certainly, and I would wager you're not from around here either. Are you sure you don't want to stay and chat? I imagine your story is an interesting one.
We would love to, but we should get to Zora Hall, Link said, intimidated by the researcher's inquisitive stare. We'll try to figure out what's going on with the eggs. The old man nodded them farewell, and Link and Tattle left the home, closing the door behind them. Great Bay's brilliant sun greeted them again.
Well, that was awkward,
Tattle said. You didn't exactly help, Link said. What was that fake name about Slarp's Seashell School or whatever you called it? You enjoy making your lives as outrageous as possible, don't you? Tattle smiled.
It's taken you this long to figure that out?
She paused, looking at the nearby shore.
So, are we really going to Zora Hall next?
Yep, Link said. Abnormal weather changes may be our culprit. If it's killing Zora eggs, that's definitely all the hallmarks of the Skull Kid's curses. We should go there and find out more about it. He placed a mask over his face and became Mikau. 2 hours earlier, the thief threw a brown coat on and attached a dagger to his belt.
Gotta get going,
he thought. Despite the darkness of his enclosed hideout, he knew the sun would finally be rising outside. Torches lit his way as he walked to a room off the hallway. Sakon opened the door to a small, closet-sized room. A lit lantern hung on the wall and illuminated his desk, chair, and bookshelf. An empty sack lay nearby, which Sakon retrieved.
Wonder what I'll find in Clocktown today,
he thought. The sun mask was the last valuable thing he'd stolen, but he wanted a few more trinkets before he involved the mayor's son in his plan. With the sack in hand, he turned to leave, but a soft thud startled him. Sakon paused, turning to see something had appeared on the surface of his desk. 1 minute it had been empty, and quite suddenly there was now a mask. It looked like a Redead's face. Sakon approached it, brow furrowed. He turned his gaze to the clock by the torch. It was exactly 6 o'clock. The sun had just broken the horizon. The thief placed his bag down and picked up the mask. It looked rather terrifying despite its simple design. He'd never seen it before, and there was nothing above him but a solid ceiling. It had simply appeared out of thin air. For him. He held it with reverence.
What brought this to me?
Sakon thought.
Is this a gift from the gods? Do they approve of my plan?
He smiled, lifting the relic up. It must possess mystical powers. Why else would it have been delivered to him? He would find out what it did before he went to town. The present.
Do you think that's it?
Tattle pointed to a massive rock protruding from Great Bay. It wasn't too far from the shore, and at its center, a decorative stone fishtail towered skyward. This stretch of beach eventually led to the dam, though Link hadn't noticed the rock or fish on his prior cycle here. The tumultuous ocean had blocked it from view. Looks like it to me, Link said in Mikau's voice and body.
Guess I'll have to find a way in from the sky while you swimming?
Tattle asked. Link nodded, diving into Great Bay again. He barreled forward as he had before, heading toward the distant rock's base. He glided over the sandy ocean floor and toward an opening in the rock space, but quite abruptly, his swimming journey was cut short. A fleshy creature snatched him from the water and began to swallow him. Link instinctively tried to wriggle free, but the gelatinous creature continued absorbing his body. Link's Zora legs had been encased as the monster attempted to pull his arms in too. Link thrust his right forearm's fin into the monster, slicing through a layer of fish and releasing a cloud of blood. The sentient mass of goop spit Link out as it writhed in pain. The hero spun through the water, stopping himself once he was at a safe distance. He recognized the monster as a like. These monsters were common in Hyrule, and they were nothing more than brown, fleshy slugs with impossibly wide mouths, and no other features. The sentient tubes were also hungry, and in Hyrule, they'd stolen his shield many times. The like was the same hue as the sand, blending perfectly. The bleeding like inched further away from Link, moving at a snail's pace as its folds of lard clawed across the bay floor. Link observed the fin he'd used to stab it, noting the red dotting its tip. However, he also noted the weapon's base. It had come off his arm slightly, as if the fin was meant to be removed. He realized the fin rested in a natural crevice, tethered to it by little white hooks. They'd begun to wriggle free from Mikau's arm after the attack, but after the like-like's defeat, they slid back into place. Whoa, Link thought. He watched the fin for a while longer, caught between amazement and concern. It hadn't hurt. Perhaps the fins were meant to be removed. The hero looked up to see another like standing near the rock's entrance. The Zora swam closer, staring at the enemy. He leveled his fin and tapped into the newly discovered hooks. Suddenly, both fins detached themselves and sprung from his arms. They spiraled in a wide arc toward the second like. The enemy had no time to react. Both fins sliced into it from either side, coming out of its injured flesh and spinning back to Link like boomerangs. The like collapsed in death and became a pile of goop. The fins returned to their crevices, cleansed of the like gore after traveling through the water. Link floated in shock, smiling when he realized this was an incredible ability. On top of breathing underwater, swimming at lightning-fast speeds, and speaking without air, he had natural boomerangs at his disposal. This definitely is my new favorite mask, the boy decided. The first like was gone, so Link swam through the opening he'd cleared. He quickly discovered that the large rock was actually a protective ring surrounding a column at its center. He landed on the ocean floor and walked toward the column, through a passageway artistically rendered into a fish's mouth. His Zora body traversed the sandy bottom as if it were land, using his fins to prevent him from floating. A sign stood halfway through the entryway. Zora Hall ahead. Now rehearsing. The Zora band with that deep sea sound. The Indigogos. The Indigogos? Link remembered Mikau saying he was a guitarist in a band, and he swore he'd heard the Indigogos once or twice while in Clocktown. What if Mikau was a celebrity? It'd be his luck to steal the identity of the most famous Zora in all of Termina. Link sighed as he walked into the hall. Eventually, the underwater hallway angled upward. He swam that way, rising to a break in the water's surface. Soon, Link climbed out of the water and onto a slick green floor made of rock. The hallway kept sloping upward, free of water, until it led into a much bigger room. He walked that way, his feet splashing on the floor's puddles. The hallway led into a beautiful chamber, which his pathway encircled. A large pool of water sat at the center, shining with perfection, impeccably clear and refreshing. A stage was anchored in the pool. It was a giant ornate clam with 4 large waterfalls pouring in from behind it. The foam generated by the falls somehow did not rival the water's clearness. It defied logic by remaining calm and ornate. With each breath, Link savored the clean water and cool cave-like hall. The ceiling was rather high, and he noticed many other levels and hallways. He wagered the decorative fish topped this column from the outside. Oi, Mikau! Link turned to a Zora walking around the chamber's bend. He was as tall as Link, but significantly more muscular. The Zora was shaded blue and white, making the hero wonder if this green coloring was unique to Mikau. This man's head, rather than turning into a point, grew into a full-fledged fishtail, hanging halfway down his back.
What's up with rehearsal?
The rehearsal? Link said, stammering.
Yeah,
The Zora said.
but the band members are still shut away in their rooms.
He shook his fishtail head.
And Lulu's just hanging around by that lone island out back. What's going on?
Lulu. Link recognized that name. He somehow managed to stammer out an answer. Official band business, but don't worry. We're getting it worked out as soon as possible. Zora didn't seem to buy it.
Is Lulu all right? She's been looking kind of strange.
She'll be okay. That's what we're working on. Link saw a flash of white light from far behind the Zora. Tattle had flown in across the room. Now, if you'll excuse me... Link walked past the stranger, and the muscular man looked after Mikau, clearly dissatisfied with their conversation. Link and Tattle met beside another Zora whose feet dangled casually in the water. She also had a fishtail on her head, which meant Mikau's head could be unique. Tattle! Link said. You found a way in?
Yeah, out back,
She said.
there's a doorway above sea level. That professor was right, though. You couldn't have gotten there without a boat.
Was there a girl Zora out there? Link asked.
Maybe? Not sure how you're already identifying Zoras as men and women. They all kind of look the same to me.
That's Lulu, Link said. We should go talk to her.
Link, I just got here. Let's check out the inside first.
She paused, however, as they both noticed the Zora woman cock her head at Link's name.
Oh,
Tattle feigned a laugh as Link faked a confused expression.
Link, that's funny. That's my cousin's name. Sorry, but Michael, right? Mikau?
The woman said, standing from the water. Yes, Link said. I'm Mikau, and this is Tattle, who's notorious for forgetting all her cousins' names. The woman laughed.
Well, good luck practicing for the concert. I'm looking forward to your rehearsal.
Yeah, thanks. Link motioned Tattle to follow him.
It's not Michael?
She said, whispering. No, it's Mikau, Link said. But it's fine. Just remember next time in case it's someone important. Tattle went to work practicing it.
Mikau, Mikau, Mikau.
Doing that out loud just looks more suspicious, Link said. Tattle sighed.
Let's just go talk to Lulu. Clearly, I need a second to perfect our lie before we're talking to any other strangers.
The fairy led him down 2 different hallways. The sound of waterfalls faded as they ascended a slope into the outside world. Link and his fairy stepped onto a small platform of stone. The fish-like column was now at their backs, and the platform went on for several feet, ending at more ocean. A small island was also nearby. It was hardly 10 feet across, and 2 palm trees grew from its green, rocky back. Only one other feature broke Great Bay's expansive body of water, but it was far, far away. It looked like a massive fish, but Link wagered it was a building. The brilliant first-day sun did little to expose its features, as a violet cloud rotated around it and obscured its look. Zora stood by herself on the platform. Her head was large and hammerhead-shaped, and she had white, blue-spotted fins that flapped like wings on her back. She wore a navy dress, and her hands were clasped over her chest as she stared sadly at the rocky ground. Link approached her carefully from the doorway. She did not look up to greet them. Lulu? Link asked with Mikau's voice. She shook her head, keeping her blue eyes averted. Lulu, Link said again. Are you okay? Still, she said nothing. Link remembered what Mikau had said. She'd lost her voice. Likely because she lost her eggs. Lulu, it's me, Link said, lying. He decided against revealing Mikau's death for now. Still, a knot formed in his stomach when he considered pretending to be someone's loved one. Lulu still said nothing, looking sadly at the ground.
Maybe we should go,
Tattle said uncertainly. Link frowned, looking back at the fish-shaped building far across the ocean. The dark cloud did look rather menacing. If my time in Hyrule taught me anything, scary clouds usually mean curses, he thought. A sign stood at the platform's edge. Great Bay Temple ahead, swimming prohibited due to murky water. Link and Tattle remained standing on the platform, both looking out at their distant destination. Of course, his fairy was unable to withhold a moan.
Ah, a freaking temple? See, I knew that was going to happen. I knew it!
Huh. Getting there is going to be a problem, though, Link said.
You could probably swim that far.
Until that purple cloud incinerated me, it looks like the Skull Kid's work. Besides, it says the water's murky, and remember what the scientist said? Tattle nodded.
How are we going to get out there then?
We'll do the same thing we always do, Link said. Help people, and hope that gives us the answers. He turned to her, looking earnest and serious. Tattle pursed her lips.
Right, I figured as much. So, where do we start? Getting those eggs back from the pirates and helping Lulu, thus the band?
Link turned to look at Lulu, who still stood beside the doorway, eyes downcast. Is Lulu even listening to us? He thought. Or is she too sad to pay attention to anything?
What will you do after helping them?
Tattle asked.
Leave? So that when the moon kills them all, they'll think Mikau abandoned them?
No, Link said. After we help them, we'll tell them the truth. Mikau and the rest of them deserve better than that. Tattle withheld any critique of his plan for now. Thank Nehru, Link thought.
Well,
his fairy said.
Lead the way, oh noble hero.
We don't even know where the fortress is, though, Link said.
Snooping around here through all of Mikau's things might help,
Tattle said. And let's hope the Skull Kid doesn't know where we are, Link said. Or Dark Me, for that matter.
Hopefully they're freezing to death beyond the mountains,
the fairy said, turning to the small nearby island.
And not hiding behind those palm trees. Seriously, what's up with that little island? It seems really out of place.
Link hardly paid attention to that question, giving Lulu one final look before he passed into the domain. Lulu never looked up, closing her eyes as she kept her sadness close. Zora, Link, and Tattle hardly made it 2 steps around the central pool before someone stopped them. Hey, Mikau! The Zora jogged to catch up, and his eyes lingered on the fairy for only a moment. I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, where have you been? Oh, you know, Link said, trailing off. Evan is looking for you. He is? Link said, unable to hide his uneasiness. That's great and all, but I think I'll go to my room first. Okay, the Zora said, appearing confused. The 3 of them stood together in awkward silence as Link hoped for a hint to point him in the right direction. Eventually, the hero noticed the Zora's eyes darting back and forth between them and the door right behind him. Oh, yes, my room, Link said, pointing to it and nodding. My bedroom for me. Mikau. That's where I was going. Zora couldn't help but smile. Yep, he said. That's it, yours and Tijo's. He then turned to leave, rolling his eyes.
Wow, could you be any more awkward?
Tattle said. Shut up, Link said playfully, turning the doorknob and stepping inside. The large room was as cave-like as the rest of the hall. The floor had thin, grassy pathways interrupted by shallow ponds. Against the back wall, all the possessions sat on the largest landmass. Another Zora was there, sitting behind a drum set he casually messed around with. There was also a second story, which Link presumed was Mikau's, and a broken ladder led up to it. From the first floor, he couldn't see his own possession, only the underside of its rock floor. Link hadn't expected the natural room. He took a tentative step onto the grass, looking up at his roommate. Tijo was large, but not muscular, and he didn't have a fin sticking from his head or a small point. He looked up from his drumming and smiled. Mikau, where've you been? Link crossed the land bridge uncertainly. Just out. Swimming. I was worried, Tijo said, flipping his drumsticks.
The concert in town is coming up, but everyone seems to be in a funk. Yeah, Link said, finally growing accustomed to his wavy voice since all the other Zora sounded like that. Lulu seems pretty upset. She's in the biggest funk for sure, Tijo said, as Link stopped just across from him. Despite the sour topic, Tijo sounded much more jovial than many of the other Zoras. I haven't heard her voice in a long time. She's usually the only other one in good spirits. Yeah, Link said distantly. He was afraid to add much more. I wonder if this has anything to do with the ocean turning all weird, Tijo said, remaining seated. Weird coincidence that Great Bay Temple got all funky too. There are all those legends and stories about a Zora descendant who's supposed to be protecting the temple, and I never believed them until now. Do you catch my drift? Lulu definitely knows something she's not telling the others. Link continued standing there, but Tijo hardly seemed to notice his silence. Good, the hero thought. He's a talker. Let's hope it stays that way. You know, Evan's looking for you, Tijo added. Yep, I just wanted to stop by here first. Don't get mad, but I want you to hear this. Tijo paused. I tried to climb up the ladder to your room, and it broke. I'm gonna go on a diet now, so just forgive me, okay? Link smiled. It's fine. I'm sure someone will fix it soon. Tijo's eyes then flickered to Tattle. So, are you gonna introduce me to your friend?
What, me?
Tattle asked. Yeah, you're a fairy, right? We have a great fairy that lives not far from here. She's pretty good friends with us Zoras. What brought you and Mikau together?
We're old friends,
Tattle said without thinking.
We ran into each other.
We're cousins, actually, Link said, trying to keep the lies consistent. Cousins? Tijo said, shifting in his seat. Man, what kind of messed up family tree do you two have? How do a Zora and a fairy end up related? By marriage, Link said, realizing the implication too late. The drummer stared at them dumbfounded. I didn't know your Aunt Rudo got married to a fairy. I didn't even know that was allowed. Yep, Link said. It's allowed in her homeland. So you attended the wedding? Tijo laid his drumsticks down and leaned in closer. Between a fairy and your Aunt Rudo? Link strained hard for something clever to say. Thoughts failed him. Yes. Mikau, Tijo said, shaking his head. What's going on? Why are you acting so weird? I'm not acting. You don't have any aunts or uncles, Tijo said, interrupting him. No one named Rudo, that's for sure. I was just making a joke, man. No one's actually named Rudo anymore. Not unless you and everyone else here has been lying to me this whole time. Tijo paused, waiting for Link to say something. But he didn't. You look pretty weirded out. What's wrong, Mikau?
Nothing,
Link said, as Tattle remained deathly silent. Isn't this her job? He thought angrily. To be the clever one with words? Mikau.
Suddenly, the words came to him. It's Lulu. I know what's wrong with her, and this fairy's here to help me, but I'm not supposed to tell anyone. I can't tell anyone, or it would cause a panic. He saw Tijo's expression soften, as if hurt that he wasn't also a confidant. I'm sorry. This is what's best for Lulu, though. We have to help her, as quietly as possible.
It's cool, Tijo said calmly. That's why you had to speak with Evan, isn't it? He's in on it too? You two and the fairy?
Link nodded. It's all good. I trust you, Mikau. And Evan's our band leader after all. I'm sure you three have a good reason to keep things from everyone. I'll keep my lips sealed, don't worry. Thank you, Link said. And I'm sorry, but... The door to their bedroom opened, and another Zora entered, interrupting their conversation. Mikau! The new Zora called. The stagehand told me you were in here. His voice was deeper than the other Zoras. Link turned to uncertainly wave hello. I was looking for you. Can we talk? Sure, Link said. See you, Mikau, Tijo said. And don't worry, Evan. Your secret's safe with him. Zora, who'd interrupted him, presumably Evan, wasn't sure how to respond. He raised an eyebrow as Link left the large room and joined him in the main chamber.
What did you tell him?
Evan asked. The Zora's eyes also lingered on Tattle, as if unsure what her presence meant. Evan's shoulders were much broader, and he had a large jaw with a head that was finless, like Mikau's. Though his physique was relatively average, his stature and voice were commanding and confident.
Nothing,
Link said, realizing he was entering dangerous water.
What does Evan think the secret is?
The hero wondered.
And how different is it from the lie Tijo believes?
I didn't tell him anything.
Well, good,
Evan said, gesturing Link to follow. His skepticism seemed to vanish. They walked several doors down, all the while curving around the clam-shaped stage and passing other Zoras.
How was it? Did you get the eggs back?
The eggs. So that was the real secret. He was grateful he and Tattle's lies weren't too far off.
And who's this?
Evan asked. His eyes had returned to Tattle.
Oh, yeah,
Link said.
I ran into her on my way here. She's trying to convince me she's my cousin and won't leave me alone.
What?
Tattle exclaimed.
That's really strange,
Evan said, stammering. They stopped in front of another door on the central chamber's perimeter.
I suppose you don't mind if she waits outside.
Tattle answered for him.
Oh, don't worry, dear old cousin,
she said disdainfully.
Go in, see if I care.
She paused as Evan opened the door and led Link inside.
But I will get you to believe me. You have an aunt, and her name is Ruto, and she's my mother. Why won't you believe me, Mikau?
Link helped Evan close the door, barely able to restrain a smile. The boy, disguised as a Zora, stepped further into Evan's room. Like Mikau's, it was enclosed by a cave exterior, but the main feature was a large piano at one end. A tasteful waterfall fell lightly behind it near Evan's bed.
Fairy just started following you,
Evan asked as he walked toward a pair of chairs.
Yeah,
Link said.
It's annoying. She never found out what you were up to.
Evan sat in one chair while Link took the one nearby. The hero shook his head.
Good. I'm still keeping Lulu's problem a secret from the other band members. They've all been looking forward to the Carnival of Time, and I can't tell them the concert's cancelled because Lulu can't sing, can I?
He then eyed Link in a different way, as if just having realized something.
You couldn't get the eggs after all, huh? Have you seen Lulu out in the back by the ocean? If we don't help her, she won't ever stop standing out there gazing at the sea.
I know, Link said.
It's terrible. We need to get those eggs back from the pirates, and the only one among the Zora tribe who can go to blows with those wild pirates is you, with the blood of Zora heroes flowing within you. The blood of Zora heroes?
Link thought.
Like Darmani. Was the Deku Scrub a hero too?
He could already imagine Tattle's sarcastic comments about the ridiculous confidence.
I guess if it's well known I'm descended from heroes, it makes sense. Tijo knew I didn't have an aunt.
I'm not giving up, Link said, looking back at Evan with resolve. I'll try again as soon as possible. I want to save Lulu and get our band together just as badly, before the carnival. Evan smiled.
Good. I'm glad we have a hero like you to look after us. Just be careful, okay? I'd hate it if anything happened to you.
Of course, Link said, his stomach lurching since Mikau had already died.
Listen, I'll be fine, and next time I come back, I'll have the eggs. Do you have enough empty bottles to carry them in?
Link had a bottle of water in his bag, but he'd never considered needing containers to carry eggs.
There were 4 eggs, right?
Link asked, taking a stab in the dark. Evan shook his head.
Mikau, there are 7. Maybe it's a good thing you didn't get to them this time. You can't carry all 7 of them out in your arms and hope to sneak by. Did Mikau have enough bottles? Link wondered. Should I have checked his body before healing him?
Can I get empty bottles here?
The shop should have a few, Evan said.
He paused, considering something else. You know, if you're going to be walking around here like this, you should try to be more confident. People can see right through your nervousness and will get suspicious.
Link's face fell.
What is he talking about?
The hero wondered.
What does he know?
Heaven seemed to notice Link's panic. Mikao? Yeah, Link said, choosing his words carefully. It's just hard. Lulu lost her voice and her eggs, which means the band is falling apart. It's a lot to take in, and taking on the pirates scares me too. Evan smiled eventually, putting a hand on Link's shoulder. I'm proud of you. I know it's hard, but I believe in your strengths. You can get the eggs back. Link nodded. I will. Thanks for checking on me. Suddenly, Evan's smile faded, and he retracted his hand. He grimaced, placing a hand over his chest and wincing. Link leaned forward as if to help him, but Evan waved him away. I'm fine, he said. Are you sure? Link asked. His band leader still grasped his chest like it was hurting him. Yeah, He paused, finally lowering his hand and straightening himself. I'm fine. Mikao, we need to worry about the eggs for now. It's just a little chest pain. All right, Link said. I'm here if you need me, and you can count on me to save Lulu's eggs. They exchanged a final handshake, which Link realized may have been out of character for Mikao, and then he left the room to find Tattle waiting outside.
Hello, cousin,
she said immediately.
Did Evan believe that I'm a delusional freak who made up an Aunt Rudo for you?
Sorry, Tattle, Link said. That was the only story I could think of.
Oh, I'm sure. Just don't think you're ever going to hear the end of your imaginary aunt and the crazy delusional fairy that I apparently am. Probably just one of your many fangirls since you are a famous guitarist. Everyone we've passed knows you.
I am a Zora hero too, Link added as they walked back in the direction they'd come.
Wait, what? You've got to be kidding me.
Nope. It seems we heroes have a knack for running into each other. Tattle rolled her eyes.
Well, where are we going now, Mr. Celebrity Hero? Member of the exclusive Heroes Only Club?
To find the Zora store, Link said. We'll need empty bottles to carry the eggs in.
Wow, kind of unusual for you to actually stop and prepare before we go on an adventure. We might even have time for a nap and lunch before we head out.
Shut up,
a stranger said. Link and Tattle turned at the new voice. Zora was bent in front of a nearby door, contorting himself to peer through the keyhole. He hadn't even turned around to see who they were.
I'm busy right now, and your talking is really loud.
The Zora took his face away from the keyhole and took in their appearances.
Ah! Mikao! You caught me!
Link didn't say anything, merely staring at the stranger forebodingly to see how it would play out.
The
Zora stammered.
Lulu's been looking kind of weird lately. I was worried. It's not like I was spying on her or anything. I'm not some kind of weirdo or some sort of slimy fish or anything.
He stopped, but Link and Tattle had not broken their gazes.
I just remembered that I have somewhere to be. What time is it? I have to be there, like, now. See ya!
The Zora walked away, his head down and refusing to make further eye contact. Link and Tattle then exchanged a glance before bursting into laughter.
Incredible,
Tattle said, wiping her eye.
It looks like you have a creeper spying on your girlfriend.
or a slimy fish, as he would put it, Link said. Tattle, I missed you. Snowhead was by far the worst part of my time in Termina. I'm glad this adventure isn't nearly as lonely.
Me too, Deku Head turned Zora. Me too.
The sun was unbearable, searing down upon the arid landscape. The man had his hood drawn and his thief's sack stashed in his cloak. He was hidden behind a canyon wall which climbed upward to scrape the sky. The clay ground was warm with the light of day, and each of his steps knocked some of Ikano's dust into the air. A river ran nearby, bordering the passageway around the wall he hid behind. Sakon peered around his corner carefully, observing a wolfos who had somehow found itself this far east. It sniffed the air hungrily and approached the body of water. Sakon looked down to his belt and touched his dagger to ensure it was there, before reaching into his robes and pulling something else. He placed the re-dead mask over his face.
It's time to see what the gods have given me,
he thought. There were tales of magical masks from the age of the giants. It was why they were worn for the carnival, after all. Since this one had appeared from thin air, it had to be divinely sanctioned like the tales of old. The tall, thin man stepped out from behind his cover in broad daylight. The large wolfos found him instantly. It must have found his appearance threatening or appetizing, because the wolfos put its weight back on its hind legs. It growled, showing sharp teeth and fierce yellow eyes. Sakon threw out his hand, expecting something to fly from his fingertips. Fire or ice, maybe. But nothing did. He put his hand back up on his face, ensuring the mask was on securely. The wolfos kept its head down and began to circle him, nearing the pathway's edge but never taking its eyes from Sakon's. The thief put his hand on his dagger, wondering if this had been a fool's errand. Sakon brought his hands to his hood and brought it down, just as the beast sprung forward. Instinctively, Sakon's hand went to his weapon, but he didn't need it. The wolfo stopped short of reaching him. It whined in pain halfway through its lunge and collapsed, its eyes staring into his own. Its expression was overwhelmed with terror, and the creature bowed before him, limbs trembling terribly. The wolfos wanted to move, but couldn't. And strangest of all, the beast wouldn't look away from him. Its eyes were stuck.
Incredible,
Sakon thought. Simply by willing the wolfos to stop moving, it had obeyed. The thief recalled the ability of re-deads, and he smiled, sliding the dagger back into its sheath. Sakon willed the wolfos to raise its right paw. It did, without hesitation, despite trembling and terror. The creature was under the influence of his divine gift. Sakon forced the wolfos to put its paw back to the ground, smiling wickedly.
Rise, puppet,
he said, shifting the creature to stand on its hind legs. The wolfos did, and its eyes watered as they stared into the undead mask's visage. Its back legs shook, as if hardly able to support its weight. The ferocious beast had been transformed into a scared puppy. A whimper escaped from the wolfos, and the thief felt a vibration echo through the beast's body. Sakon's eyes widened.
I'm not just commanding it,
he thought.
I'm controlling it. I can feel the inside of the wolfos.
Yes, he could feel its heart beating, hammering wildly in its chest. He could feel its lungs rapidly taking in air. He could even feel the pulsing of its mind, relaying messages of panic, telling it to run, to flee, that it was in danger.
You are in danger,
Sakon said.
But you can't escape.
He focused his energy on the creature's heart, willing it to beat faster. The wolfos's pupils dilated wildly as its blood began rushing through its veins far too quickly. Faster and faster and faster. The wolfos shook terribly. Its eyes turned red. Sakon willed the beast's heart to keep pumping to exacerbate its heartbeat until the wolfos collapsed. Its eyes were now bloodshot and devoid of life. As soon as death came, the creature was no longer under his control. Sakon's smile returned. He looked to the pathway leading west. Clocktown was hardly a day's journey.